The Galactic Union had seen many strange things in its long history, but nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared them for humanity. When the species from Earth first joined the interstellar community, the Union had quietly categorized them as Deathworlders. Their home planet was filled with predators that could shred armor, microorganisms that could melt lungs, and weather systems that could casually flatten cities. Most species believed humans were dangerous but manageable, so long as no one disturbed their unpredictable tendencies. That assumption shattered on the mining colony of Verus 9. The planet was notorious for its infestation of Tarkvan, colossal, armor-plated space worms that burrowed through rock and metal alike. A single adult worm could devour an entire mining outpost in hours. Even Union warships avoided prolonged combat with them. Entire colonies had been abandoned when the worms emerged in swarms. For centuries, the solution had been simple. Quarantine the planet and let the worms have it. But then the humans arrived. Captain Earl of the Carthy fleet watched from the safety of orbit as the humans disembarked. Their commander, a woman named Captain Elena Torres, surveyed the scarred terrain with calm eyes. Around her, human engineers unloaded equipment not designed for mining or defense, but for ranching. "Are they insane?" Earl whispered to his second-in-command. The human settlement sprang to life in less than a day. Fences of reinforced alloy, baiting stations, and strange emitters were set up across the plains. To Earl, it looked less like a military outpost and more like a farm. The first worm attack came at dawn. The ground shook as a monstrous Tarkvan burst from beneath the soil, its maw wide enough to swallow a shuttle whole. Union observers braced for carnage. But the humans did not panic. Instead, Torres raised a hand and shouted, "Easy, girl!" To Earl's disbelief, the soldiers didn't fire. They threw massive slabs of nutrient-packed meat into the worm's path. The beast stopped, sniffed, and devoured the offering with an almost pleased rumble. Then, instead of attacking, it settled into the dirt like a lounging pet. The humans cheered. Someone scratched its armored hide with a crane-mounted brush. Earl's mandibles clicked in horror. "They're feeding it! Like a domesticated beast!" Over the next weeks, more worms emerged. Each time, humans repeated the same bizarre ritual, feeding, brushing, even speaking to them in soft tones. Against all logic, the worms began to recognize individual humans. One soldier proudly boasted that his worm responded to whistles. Another showed off how his worm would roll onto its side, exposing its softer underbelly, demanding what humans called a belly rub. Soon, the colony wasn't under siege, it was thriving. Worms lounged near the fences, lazily watching as humans built structures. Children climbed onto the smaller worms and rode them across the plains. When Union inspectors arrived, they nearly fainted at the sight of human toddlers sliding down a worm's armored back like it was a playground. A council was called. "This is unnatural," cried an Athari delegate. "The Tarkvan are apex predators. They destroy warships. How can these Deathworlders treat them like pets?" Yet every human insisted it was natural. They just needed some trust, Torres explained during a broadcast. "Back on Earth, we domesticated wolves, creatures that once hunted us. We befriended giant horses that could trample us. Even elephants, predators, and killer whales, we turned them into partners. The Tarkvan are no different. You just have to approach them with respect." Respect? That word baffled the Union. Respect was not something one gave to a planet-eating worm. Respect was what one gave to an admiral. The situation only grew stranger. Humans began using the worms for practical tasks. Their immense strength was harnessed to move mining equipment and clear tunnels. Their natural tunneling ability created instant underground shelters. With careful training, the worms carried cargo across terrain too rough for vehicles. The Union watched in stunned silence as a human convoy passed by, worms hauling wagons while soldiers waved from atop their armored backs, laughing as though this were the most ordinary thing in the universe. To the humans, it was. Months later, the Union conducted its official inspection. Errol descended to the colony once again. The sight made his mind reel. The once dangerous plains were now dotted with massive worm paddocks. Families picnicked beside their pets, tossing scraps into cavernous maws. Children painted bright colors onto the worms' armor plates. One worm even wore a massive saddle, proudly carrying 3 humans who waved at the inspectors. Errol's report was brief. The humans have achieved the impossible. The Tarkvan are no longer a threat. They are domesticated. The humans call them wormogs. The revelation shook the galaxy. Species that had fled from Tarkvan worlds for centuries now returned, escorted by humans and their new pets. Mining colonies flourished again, this time guarded not by fleets, but by lounging worms that rumbled happily at feeding time. A new industry was born overnight, worm ranching. Humans traded there, tamed worms across systems, sparking a cultural revolution. For the first time in history, the Tarkvan were no longer a galactic terror, but a symbol of human audacity. At the Grand Council, a single question remained. Why humans? Why only them? Torres, invited to speak, gave a simple answer. Because where others see monsters, we see potential friends. On Earth, survival meant learning to live with danger. We don't just fight the wild, we embrace it.